welcome to the latest episode of All Hands on Deck. I'm Katherine McBean, and today I'm joined by the wonderful Nicky from Autonomy Hotline. And we're going to learn more about this today, because this is something that's going to be essential for us all to have on our radar, the incredible work they've started, and we're going to find out where they're going. So welcome, Nicky. Thank you for joining me today, my lovely.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. So tell us a bit about Autonomy Hotline. What is it? What are you guys doing?
Oh, right. So the Autonomy Hotline is an advocacy service with a central helpline service, so that anyone who's got a kind of issue with health and social care, or with professionals or negotiating treatment, or social services might come around knocking on the door, you've got a point of call where we can give an immediate kind of answer if you needed, but also if for more complicated cases, we can assign an advocate. And the point of that is not to necessarily try and kind of force change or fix you or anything, just to walk through the journey of what it is that professionals might be looking for. And it's not going to be like a salvation, or it's not going to stop all the problems. But what it does is it just walks you through. And I'm a firm believer in something called third-party power. So you've got a third party vouching for you, or you've got someone else involved in your case, coercive power is reduced. And the aim is to make sure that that's minimized by having someone walk with you who can identify the coercive powers involved in your case. So that's really what it's about. So anyone could phone the central hotline number, and then we can have like a case debrief. And then that person will be assigned to either a specialist in a particular field or the local advocate in that area. So that's the aim of the Autonomy Hotline.
Can you give me an example of a scenario that someone might find themselves in, whereby actually coming to you guys would be the best thing they could do?
Yeah, so oh my gosh, I've got so many that can rummage through my brain. Probably supports about 100 over the time it's been started. Whether we haven't always got the right answers, so some of them are too difficult, like we're not there yet. Some of them are, but some of the easier ones is before everything kicks off. So one of the good examples is child breaks their leg. They go to hospital, get an x-ray, and then, or it could be like, so my paper's just chopped all over the floor. It could be that they bumped their head or something, and the doctors then might think, well, we need to make this referral to social services. Sometimes they say it's policy. I disagree. I think it's more likely they just don't want to shoulder the responsibility of asking questions. But essentially, sometimes that goes to social work, and social workers might have a duty to then respond to that, and then provide some kind of assessment of that family, go and visit, say hello, look at the situation, look at the environment. That is quite scary, because there's a lot of negative press about social workers. So phoning us at that point, A, it calms the fear. B, we give an idea of what professionals might be looking for, so there is no fear. And C, gives you a few tips to help navigate that situation if they do come knocking on your door. So we've had a few of those. We've had a few of those on the hotline where there's potential being a referral. So psychological history might be used and weaponized, some kind of injury or incident, and then the wider dynamics of the family can be scrutinized unhelpfully. So we'll, at the other end of the phone, we don't need to assign an advocate for those cases unless there's a lot of other history. But usually it's a case of, right, you can do this, and this. This is what they're looking for. Primarily is stay calm, let them in, and it's almost like selling your house. We have a positive feel for it, but you're selling your home. This is how we do it. This is how we function. I don't know if there's any other problems, but this is what we are. And then hopefully that will be the case closed. The problem with some people I hate this term awake movement, but this is genuinely a problem, is when people feel their rights are being taken away at that point, and they start being sort of, they don't want to cooperate. In actual fact, that raises me. Well, yeah, I mean, we all do it. I did it. I know exactly what that's like. I've lived through some of this, right? Know exactly what it's like, but I also know what professionals are looking for, and it's got to meet a certain threshold. If it doesn't meet that threshold, they're not going to be interested, because they've got so much work going on. So don't give them that threshold. Don't raise suspicions. And if you welcome them in, let them tick the boxes, they'll leave you alone. So there's knowing those sorts of things, knowing what they're looking for, will probably put you in the best possible footing for things not to escalate. So that would be when we'd be really useful.
Fantastic. And why did you set this up? What led you to do something like, because this is incredible. I mean, the amount of people across this country who have been or could well be, based on the current situation, the current climate, if you like, out there, could find themselves in a situation where the authorities or similar are putting them in a position they're uncomfortable with, and they don't really understand it enough. You come along at a very opportune moment. What was your reasoning for kind of setting this up and getting moving?
Is a bit of history. I mean, I had a lived experience of social services that nearly destroyed our family. It was fortunately like one or two people, particularly one lady in particular, who gave me sound advice at the critical point I needed it, that saved our family. And I saw some of the principles that she told me I have. They are the foundation for what I'm doing. And I would say that I wish I was a step, before COVID, so opportune time, yes, but I feel like it's behind. It needed to be implemented a long time ago, but here we are.
You're here now.
Who knows what might happen in the future? And I guess that's what I'm looking for, is to make sure that there's a sounding board for people for anything that might come up now. In terms of the name came to me. This is going to sound crazy. Shortly after I'd handed so I did a master's in medical ethics, and I interviewed people in family court for my dissertation. And then, so I found a lot of coercive power, a lot of problems in the court system. And it was clear that people needed more support when they were going through a court case, because you've got solicitors, which are supposed to voice for you. They don't give you emotional support. It's very sort of dry. It's very narrow what they actually do. And obviously for some people that costs a fortune. So, where do you go to spill out your emotions when you're dealing with that kind of thing? So there was no space to hold people's hearts, even if there was supposedly that, someone could hold your voice. They didn't hold your heart. They didn't hold your emotion in check.
A lovely energy to go in with. That's
yeah. So so I finished my dissertation in October 2020, I think. So it was towards the beginning of the second lockdown, I think we were hitting. I handed in my research, and then there was this lull in my life, and all the grief around COVID and stuff that I found really difficult. I didn't know where to put the ethics training. So it was a significant amount of work that I put into that. And then in May 21, I had this dream, which is going to sound really nuts, but I was sort of, and I've said it before to a few people, there was this hospital building, and on the wall there was the Autonomy Hotline, and there was a paramedic that walked in, and I said to him, I think that's what I want to do. And I woke up. So there's a little bit more to it than that, but certainly I woke up with the most profound feeling I'd ever had. And finally, out of all that darkness and grief from COVID, I had something I could maybe work towards and give it a go. I didn't have any other clues, so I didn't know really what I was doing. It's been painstaking trying to figure out how to set up a helpline. I haven't always got it right. I tried setting up a website. Website language is like legal language. It's like learning a whole other language. So struggled with that. Managed to get a little bit of funding for the website, so that's all okay now. And choosing a helpline number, so we've got that in place, so that phone number can be diverted to any phone in the UK. So any volunteer could take the line and then answer the call if we need it. We can have more than one person on that. So it's a really good system that we've got, and we can expand that. And so all the other things, what policies, what am I going to charge people, that all had to come from just guesswork, really. But I think we've got quite a solid way forward. We try and do everything on an absolute shoestring, so we don't put clients in difficult positions. We will take people on without payment, because we do. The hotline is free. That's the point. I mean, the cost of the call for whoever's phoning, but we don't charge for the advice and support on that. we allocate an advocate and we try and do absolute minimum payments, and we're going to try and put an access fund together for those that really need it. So we absolutely, we're registered CIC as well. So that means that it's a registered non-profit. So any monies we do get go back into the service after expenses have been paid. So it's really, it's been a real challenge to get to the point we are, but I think we're really at a point now where, yeah, with a bit of funding, we could turn this into something really long lasting. It's really exciting.
It is. And what I love about it, like you, like us for PHA or PFFA or any of the other incredible grassroots, and I call you grassroots because this was born from the people, and it's there to serve the people. You know, you truly are a grassroots, and it's just this drive we've had. It's like we've suddenly found our place in the world. We know now what we want to do, and we're passionate about it, and we will not stop until we're out there helping people and everything's running. And you know, it's just it's incredibly tiring, it's incredibly hard work, but it is the most wonderful thing when you start helping people and you start seeing the results of that. I mean, nothing's better, is it really?
Yeah, we've had some real good success stories since I've started this project, and seeing people come through from like the most challenging situations imaginable to suddenly being on a slightly better path is just so worth it. It's just incredible what is happening right now. So yeah, I mean, there's always going to be a few that really challenge you, but they make you a better advocate. So as much as we can't solve them, certainly the challenges that are presented, they make me a better person. They make me think harder and deeper about subjects, about ethics, about morality, about conduct, about professionalism. And sometimes there's nothing you can do other than reflect on that. But if that in itself makes you better at what you do, and that's good.
Yeah, it's interesting you were looking at the ethics of it, because something, you know, everyone knows I've been awake and aware for many years thinking about this, trying to find solutions and so forth. And I sat and I read all the old philosophers and what I could get my hands on in terms of ethics and morals and so on and so forth. And people do not understand how much this plays in how we move forward, how we go from
100%.
here. What does that look like? This is a massive part of everything we do moving forward. So with PHA and PFFA, we said from the word go, everything we do is with integrity. Everything we do is open and honest and as transparent as can be, because we are building the new, and we need to lead by example, if you like, and integrity and morals and ethics has to come into everything we do. So it's fascinating that every group I speak to throughout this movement, the really authentic ones, the ones who really care about that stuff, they're really passionate about that stuff. And when it comes to I mean, what a topic to study at that time in human history. I mean, you couldn't have been more on the money, could you, really?
No, it's the first time I've been on that kind of ahead of the game, I suppose. But it's just there was no the sad thing was that I think even the lecturers were sort of taken aback by how quickly it was all happening. So you know, we were making changes to the way education was being delivered whilst being trained in bioethics during a pandemic. I mean, but we didn't have a compass in some ways, even though we should have been the compass. And I was deeply distraught by the fact there was no real discussion available, because things were being rolled out so quickly. Ethics and morals, and it takes time. Those skills take time, and what was being thrown at everybody didn't have space for that. And in some ways, there's this balance between what was going on in the emergency realm and what was needed in the ethical sort of deeper morality sense. Those two weren't meeting at all. Even for us who were ethicists and philosophers, they weren't meeting, which was a real shame. And I think, you know, if anything we've learned is to, you know, something I'm striving towards is building that arena within the context of the work I'm doing, because we must have solid ethical codes in place before anything like this happens ever again. And so, yeah, ethics is the grounding. It's the foundation of all the work on the hotline, and will be heavily taught in the training that is being. And I really feel like I should have had this rolled out already, this training course, but unfortunately, dealing with all the clients that we've had and learning as fast as I have all the situations that could emerge has set it back a little bit, and I do apologize for that, but it's
these modules
definitely,
I keep hearing about.
yeah, so if
Do you
it's
want
all
to tell us
part
a little bit more
yeah.
about that, because I'm intrigued? Tell us a bit more about these modules and
So
training.
it's all in the plan, so don't, I
Yeah.
haven't sort of got everything in place yet, but so the first module, so if you see the website, the first module will be sort of in a freebie, if you like, included in the sign up. If you register with us, you can have access to that. So that will be online soon, and I'm trialing it out this week. So hopefully,
What's the aim of these modules, so we're clear?
So the first module will be hopefully enable you to just pick up the hotline and take calls, so you get an idea of what we're doing. So it will cover sort of the basics of coercive power, of basic stuff in family law, basic stuff in sort of taking a case and how to do it, basic listening stuff. So just a little bit of everything in place, a little bit of analysis on the NHS and social care, those kind of things. So you've got a little bit of everything in one place, so anyone, client or advocate, can access that. That's the aim, that first module is accessible for all. Okay.
Brilliant.
Then the second module, there would be a fee attached, or people can help on the hotline if I feel like after an interview and stuff they're able to do that. That first module will be like a grounding in sort of legal stuff that we get a lot of. So things like best interest, capacity, family law, medical law, things like that. It won't be a full understanding, but just enough of the main topics that we get, so you can get an idea, but just have enough to get through. So that's the second module. The third module will be about ethics. So anything that I've learned, some of the parallels with different situations, a little bit of feminist philosophy, a little bit of sort of the technology and Prometheus and those kind of things that go way back to human development, if you like, Greek culture, those kind of things. So looking at they're also looking at GMC codes and moral codes within what may have been lost over COVID, and bringing them back to the forefront, and what if anything, an advocate should say, well, this is part of your moral code, this is part of your ethical code, this behavior shouldn't be acceptable because it's written here.
Fantastic.
And so knowing where they
ears, that is.
So it's always the role of the advocate is to provide that third party power to point these things out and do it gently and in a way that works, without rocking the boat, but to just pull up things that should be there. So knowing where to find those codes of practice and knowing what they contain, because there is a lot in there already written and ingrained into our legal culture, if you like, and into medical culture, that we should be using, and knowing where it is. So those things will come up in the second module. So that's being planned at the moment. We've got a domestic abuse lead at the moment. We get a lot of queries about this, because what we're finding is that medical things can be weaponized in the courts or weaponized in relationships, and that's really difficult work that we do there. And that's where we need an advocate on this. So we've got a few cases where this is extremely dangerous stuff right now, and I think we're able to spot the coercive power layers within a case through the analysis work we do. So we're going to pull that apart a little bit, the power, the abuse, control, get my hopefully my domestic abuse lead will help me write that next module. So there's obviously elements I've planned to put in, as I know what I want to put in there. So we will utilize people's experiences, few case studies, things like that as well. So one of the things we get a lot of is things like vaccination. One parent wants it, the other parent doesn't. Sometimes, I'm not saying in all cases, but sometimes it's the parent who wants it is doing it to undermine the wishes of the other parent. So it's being aware of when medical issues might be used and abused in the courtroom and how to navigate that. So that will be part of that module. And then we've got fourth or fifth, where I'm up to. We've got listening skills module. Fifth module will be listening skills. So we can really, one of the biggest things is just being there on the phone for a client, and knowing how to, I mean, it sounds so basic, listening skills. We think we listen, but actually it's one of the most difficult skills sometimes to get right. And one of the key things about being an advocate is not to fix somebody, not to fix the problems, but to hold their story safe in your heart. And you've got to hold a safe space for them. I talk about this a lot. You've got to hold that safe space and not to take that. We have such a risk averse culture that safe space is so jeopardized. They can't say anything, they can't be themselves. And there's a risk
this is something we feel very passionate about. So we work with one of our partners, Anna and Cara, who have set up quite some time ago now, Zoom drop-ins every day during the week. And luckily our New Zealand team are now helping so we can cover time zones, and we're going to eventually get it 24/7. And it's run by qualified therapists and so forth, but it's a space to hold people and allow them to know that they can talk freely, there are no judgments, and just listen, like you say, just listen, and allow people that space to do it, because it's literally, we know there's one life that's definitely been saved already from it, and I'm sure there are others out there that it has actually helped in such a way. But it is so essential that we hold that space and we do listen, without judgment, without comment, just allowing people to offload sometimes. So for those that don't need the Autonomy Hotline, know that there's another option that you can find it on our website for PHA, but no, there are people out there who will hold that space for you. Absolutely.
And we have where in the world, like you've got medical professionals that will go to social services and report a broken bone or something, and there is a place for that, where the world needs to be able to know that their children are being looked after in that way. There is also the counter argument to that is, well, what if there is domestic violence, or what if there's stuff that I actually need to just talk about without that breach of confidentiality, because that could make it worse. And it is written into our training, into our confidentiality policy, that because of the nature of the clients we get, awake mentality, sort of difficult things come up, we avoid breaching to any outside service, anything that represents the system, as much as possible. We try and find alternative ways around it in order to protect the. Sometimes it is unavoidable. Like there are occasions when I'm like, mainly in adult social care, like there might be times when I have to refer it to police or social worker. Generally in family law cases, that's a lot harder to do, because the risks of a case going completely strange if you mention anything. It's really complicated dynamics with family law and other forms of law. So the aim would be, as long as you can just hold that client space safe, try not to go anywhere outside that represents the system. Building trust is a critical part of what we need to do. As I said, there are times when we don't get it right all the time, but we will walk that journey. We will aim to walk that journey with you as far as possible, as far as we can, from beginning to end. I'm not saying we get it right all the time, but generally the principle is right. And I think that's what I want to stand for.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's absolutely incredible, and I think it's wonderful that you're doing this. I can tell from what you're saying that you want to make sure that there's a way that this can be affordable for everyone. Should they need the service, we'll find a way, we'll find a solution. Don't think you can't contact should the coffers be empty, because we all know what that can be like. Very much like PHA. Hey, let's sit and talk. Let's see if we can find a way to make this work. And it's great that you're open to those conversations as well. So fantastic. How and what way can people help you as Autonomy Hotline? So what I'm gathering here is that you could do with more volunteers. Tell us a bit about that, and then maybe any other ways that, whether it be donations or any other way that people can help out.
Yeah, so I think we've hit a sort of crunch time in the amount we can take on, so it's really difficult right now, but we could do with a few more volunteers, and volunteers that have some kind of experience, so that while I'm writing the training course, then other people can just, even if it's just taking messages at the moment while things are being kind of solidified in terms of practice. As I said, the first module should be enough, and that should be released like any day now, at least for the testing of it. So anyone that wants to come on while that's being trialed and come and sort of test it and then come on board with us if they like it, that would be great. Trying to do some of it in person as well, because I don't want to just be sat in front of a screen. You know, this is dynamic stuff, we're working with people. I don't want to be sort of that's proving difficult, and that's where some of the delays have happened. But yeah, so people with a little bit of skill and understanding to come on just in the interim period to help us allocate clients whilst there is this period where I'm still kind of writing the systems that need to be put in place. So so that's critical right now. Funding wise, we have a website with PayPal. I know nobody wants PayPal.
We use the tools we've got right now, don't we? The better solutions will come.
So at the moment, I mean, I had to make a decision based on the funding I had available for the website. So I had to go with PayPal because that was a little bit cheaper than doing anything else. I will like to change it, but I can't at the moment. So, but if you're able to, I'm so sorry. If you're if you're able to contribute in any way, I don't know how to turn this off, so sorry.
I can't see it, so don't even worry.
That's all right. And as a call, if you're able to contribute, there is a PayPal account. If you have any other ways of donating, just get in touch with us. We'll figure it out. There is another link called Easy Fundraising, and we're connected with them. Now, this is really helpful. If people can sign up to Easy Fundraising through the Autonomy Hotline, basically, we get a few pennies back on every online shop you do. So it depends on what store it is or supermarket or whatever. But basically, even if it's only 3 or 4 pence, that adds up, and you don't have to, that isn't anything that you've paid for, nothing you've spent, you haven't paid any extra for that. So if you buy an online shop and you do it through the Easy Fundraising link, we get a few pennies. I think you can do rail cards and things like that on there too.
Wow, excellent.
John Lewis, Waitrose, I think Sainsbury's, a few other big brands, fashion retailers. So that's a really easy one. I know a lot of, again, awake mentalities, you don't want to be tracked or traced, you don't want to sign up to things. I get it, but this is a way we take pennies from the government and put into the into the purse of non-profits. So if you can do it and everybody sign up for it, that will mean I get that directly straight into the account. And that really, that's a massive help. And a lot of the time they give us a £5 for everyone who signs up. So just do it, just sign up. We get a little bit back, and it takes it from the big businesses that are aligning their profits, and we're actually helping the small people on the ground. So what, just if as many as possible sign up for that, I would be absolutely delighted with that, because that's consistent income then, rather than me relying on little bits here and there. That's every couple of months I get a little bit, 30 quid here and there, but that's all I need to keep going, just a little bit. So any donations, anything like that, if you want to be a volunteer, you want to invest in that opportunity and book your place, £35 registration fee. You can do that online, or you can ask me for details if you don't want to do it by PayPal. That's fine. Get in touch. I can't promise it'll be rolled out straight away, but we're doing our utmost to juggle the clients and the training needs. We are on it. So the course is sitting here.
Do you sleep at any point?
My husband was whinging a lot that I didn't come to bed on time. I've had to kind of reflect on that, and I'm getting quite tired without, so I'm having to be really strict with myself now. I'm still not doing a great job, but I'm going to bed earlier than I used to. The training course is here, look, see, so I am doing it. So whatever, it's there. So I will stay up late if I've got a court case or something. So sometimes I go to court with people. I've done an all-nighter once, and I didn't get paid for that. So I will do it for people. Make sure their documents are in court.
You're an actual angel, lady. You really are.
I try. The issue is that, something like, let's say, a family refusing a vaccine for a loved one, it's very hard to change the court's views. So I know that I'm there to stop the emotions spilling out. I'm not necessarily going to change all of the outcomes in court. So we'll still lose. You're likely to lose. Better lose with someone like us, where we know the dynamics involved and we hold your emotions in check, than spending thousands and thousands on solicitors and you're not going to change the outcome. Although with Matt Hancock's stuff coming out, maybe it will change. I don't know. So, but we
I was
are
just about to
here.
say, surely your job will get a lot easier when the world starts waking up to what
Oh,
reality looks like.
I know. And if we get to the point where we're not needed, that's a good point. That's a good
I've
place for
said
us
the
to
same about
be.
PHA.
I
When
don't
we
want to
are
be
no
doing
longer
this.
needed, that's when we're successful.
Yeah, and
And the
I
core
would
team
like
aren't needed.
I would like to be in that place. Sadly, I think there will always be doctors and coercive powers involved in society, because I don't think we can avoid it. But I don't want it as bad as what we're seeing at the moment. I think it's awful right now what we're seeing. But if we can provide a little bit of a rein on that and provide some alternative thinking, then we've done our job. It won't be a solution to everything. But it's a little bit, and it's a start. It's definitely a start. If I can go into court and speak on behalf of somebody when you're not technically, as what's called a Mackenzie friend, because I'm not legally trained, I can assist and do it quietly. But I was actually invited to represent last year a hearing on a vaccine case, which is very, very unusual. And if I can do that, and if I can speak peace, and if I can assist, I've done something with this. I've done something with this project. If we can spot a domestic abuse case and we've tried to say something about it, we've done a good job. Even the few cases that we can't change it, but we can impact the emotions. We can impact, how people are feeling supported by just somebody knowing. Then we've done our part. So
What
yeah, I'm
really
ranting a bit now.
touches me about this is it's coming from a place of love.
Yeah,
The old
definitely.
models of the past that are based on money, they're based on yeah, we need money. Of course, we all need money to function. But that isn't the onus. This isn't about profit. This isn't
No,
about ego. This isn't about getting a big name out there for the sake of getting a big name out there. And
no.
that's what I love seeing coming from this movement, is those authentic grassroots groups and organizations like yourself, where it comes genuinely from a place of love.
Yeah.
We want to
I mean,
help.
one of the things I'm really acutely aware of is like how legal power can then, like with the money and stuff, someone could just rack up thousands and thousands and thousands worth of costs. Every meeting, every piece of paper, every email is charged. And like, I want nothing to do with that sort of system. That is
No.
totally abusive and totally controlling. I want nothing to do with it.
I
So
think
I'm
our
trying
whole
to
legal
find,
system will be overhauled.
I know,
I
I
do.
mean, this is where we've got this niche. Like, we need to create a different way of doing it so that clients are aware of a set fee, and if they want to contribute, then we find a way of doing that. And if they can't afford it, we find a way around it, and we find this like support without having to rack up all the costs, because it's not necessary. Because if we can do it on an absolute shoestring, and you definitely don't need a lawyer firm to rack up those costs. I think ideally, looking at the future, I think what would be helpful is if we could assist legal firms with certain cases, so that we could take some of the pressure off them as well. Like, we could provide that emotional support, filter out what is unnecessary emotion, and then give it to the legal firm to then transform into a good case. Whereas at the moment, a lot of unnecessary stuff is put on to the legal people, who won't really deal with it in an appropriate way, and some of the negative stuff can come in. So we can kind of siphon off the emotion, hold that safe, break down the legal side of it, and give that to the lawyer. So we could work quite well. I think our system could work quite well with legal firms. It's finding those really awake legal firms.
I was just about to say,
problem.
have you come across, because I don't know if this is any use to you, and I obviously don't know remotely how they'd feel about it, but I know there's a few retired solicitors and lawyers circulating throughout the movement. And it's soon, I predict it's soon going to come to the point whereby they are going to want to do something to support you guys, whether they're an advocate or whether they help with drafting or whatever it might be. So if there are people out there who do have that legal training background, or they're retired, or they've stepped back because they don't like what they're seeing, or so on and so forth, would you be open to them getting in contact and seeing if they could, help you guys with what you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what I would say though is, when you come with professional experience and you just want to help with the advocacy is a weird word for legal people, because legal advocates have access to the bar, whereas advocates that are non-legal do not have any ability to do that. So you've got to be really careful when you use legal language. Anyway, people that want to come on board as an advocate, and our advocate, non-legal advocate, you have to lose your professionalism a little bit. You lose those lenses that guided you in the past. This is completely different. This needs to be different. You don't want to be seen to be a lawyer, a social worker, a medic, any of those things. You've got to be free of
surely you
those.
want to connect and be relatable, and like you say, hold the space, be a good listener, and actually work from the heart.
Yeah, because those things are not really part of what I'm doing. However, we do have a range of professionals that we use and utilize to help get to the bottom of cases. So I have a retired GP, I have a pediatrician, who else do I have? A couple of legal people, not necessarily lawyers, but who know how to read legal cases. Got a mediator who's just come on my team. So there's definitely space where we need lawyers to come on board, or we need lawyers to be able to feed people to, because there are sometimes cases that are far too difficult and we don't really know where to place them. So as the project grows, I'd love to liaise with set legal firms, but also have a couple of lawyers as consultants on the team, so that we are building that consultancy level, which needs to grow, definitely, because we're finding that advocates need to go to the consultant and go, what about this? So we may have just spotted some domestic abuse, for example, through use of a pediatrician. So you see what I mean? Like, we've got a gentleman who knows about power of attorney and capacity and guardian and deputyship. So when a case of elderly care comes in, we can ask him, like, what's the rules about this? What are the courts going to do about this? So we don't necessarily put the consultant with the client. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. But we have that open dialogue for advocates to go to the consultants and say, can you give me some advice on a particular case? And that works, I think, extremely well. It's been a very organic process. It's just kind of happened that people have come to me and said,
all of these have had to be organic, haven't they? Because none of us have had 100% clear picture. It's had to be allowed to evolve.
And I think that's partly why the training's been delayed, because actually I needed to learn like everything that we get, and now I think we've got a good solid team, and a good solid kind of system that, like I say, with the consultants, sometimes I assign one of the doctors to a case. Sometimes it's a case of actually the doctors, you can phone that doctor, but this is your client. It's an advocate instead of the doctor. So we've developed systems, and I try and match the clients with the advocates as best as I can, so they've got similar skills, or the personality matches a little bit, so there's a good match there. So they'll be able to walk them through. But at any point, if they want any information, I've got this amazing, and I mean it, I have this amazing team. They're just wonderful, that I can go, right, can you give me some advice on this? Can you help me with this? It's just absolutely brilliant. So I feel
people that we get to work with that make this it's a blessing. It is a blessing. It's an honor almost, isn't it? To work with the teams you work with.
I feel very honoured. A big shout out to my CIC group. So I've got a lady called Sarah Holdway. Sarah Holdway has been with me for about a year, and she's taken on some of the most difficult cases, and she's now my senior advocate. So she's dealt with some amazing stuff. She really is brilliant. Sandy, who's on my CIC group, she's lovely. She's just been a solid, loyal person for me throughout this whole walk. I've got Lauren, who's sort of come alongside, and her organizational skills are much better than mine. So she's come on and she's sort of developing the PA role. So between them, they really help me out. And I don't sort of give them anything yet. I mean, hopefully there'll be paid roles in this for that sort of core team. But at the moment, I feel so blessed that people are giving me their time voluntarily for something that I don't give back to them in the same way. But this isn't, as you say, it's not about money. This is about love. This is about turning lives around for the better. And I'm seeing that. We're seeing that dramatic change. So yeah, big shout out to all my team. Just a lady called Talia, who's just come on board, who's taking on some cases, and I give her these massive files to read, and she does it, and she's just brilliant. And like, I couldn't function without this amazing group. And this I
feel the same way.
Yeah,
you're getting me in the feels here, Nicky, because you're making me think about my teams and who I get to work with, and my mind is often blown by just how lucky and blessed I feel to
Yeah.
have such amazing, kind, generous, loving people to work with who will give
Mm.
their all, and they're not getting paid, they're
No.
just, it's just coming from a place of love and also a
Yeah.
place of determination as well. Don't get me wrong, these people, they're determined to help others, and they're not going to
Yeah.
let things stand in their way, and they're just warriors, absolute warriors. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's an absolute blessing.
Yeah, so Dr. John Rogers is part of our group, and he's on the UK Medical Freedom Alliance as well, and the Vax Control Group. And I give him cases, and he just kind of goes away and does them and deals with them, and we come to him if we've got any other questions. So we have this just connected, and I just want to make sure that that communication flows between clients, advocates, and consultants, so that everyone's got like they can just pick up the phone and just feel free to talk about stuff. So it is. I think it's really working. I'm really pleased with how we've come, and just the level of sort of openness that the clients and advocates have with each other is something else. It really does. It does work. It is working.
I keep saying to people, because one of my key aims is to get everyone who's awake and aware across the UK taking part in something. It could be something like this. It could be about creating a community growing group or a youth hub in your local area. It could be, if you fancy being a journalist, set up your own alternative media, trying to engage people and let them know there's a role to play. And as time goes on, there's been more incredible people like you out there creating new ways forward and new initiatives. And there's going to be so many ways for people to get involved. And it is that engagement that's key. But what people need to understand is it's not the slog of it that you need to think about. What you need to think about is what you're obviously going to help people, but B, actually what you get out of it for your own soul and for your own happiness and finding your place in this world and why you're here and what you're here to do. And it's just such an incredible feeling. And what I love is when people come along and they say, I didn't really know what to do at PHA, or I wasn't really sure what to do, so I just joined one of the groups. But they almost feel like it, in a way, not it saved their lives. That may be a little dramatic, but they were totally lost and alone in the world.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they found, like they say, their brethren or their gang, or they found their people, and it's just turned everything around for them. They're so positive and so energized, and plus they're helping others, which we all know,
Yeah.
helping others, we help ourselves, and we feel great for doing it. So what you're offering here is, I mean, hats off to you, Nicky girl, because I know how much time and energy you must have put into this to get this far in this
Yeah.
short period of time. I know it, I've experienced it, and hats off to you, because it's not easy.
Thank you, and you as well. No, it's not easy at all. And I think I had set up a business myself a long time ago. I did a lot of sports coaching and stuff like that. So I was familiar about setting up a business, but you're talking about whole different dynamics. Like now we all
Yeah.
work from Zoom. Now it's like everything seems a bit more fractured because of COVID. And this was like, I'm talking about a national project. This isn't just something you go around your local schools and
No.
leaflet drop. Like that was quite easy in comparison. So when you're trying to develop something, a movement, you're in it. You're in
Yeah.
it.
It is your life.
Um,
It's a lifestyle. It's not a
over.
job. It's a
No.
lifestyle.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's
So
our passion that drives us, isn't it? I
yeah.
mean, the passion to make the difference and to bring the results and the answers and solutions and so forth. It's our passion that drives
Mm,
us. And like you say, the money doesn't even come into it. I mean, like me,
yeah.
as long as I'm enough to keep the wolves from the door, I'm good to go,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that bit. So it's not that drives us at all.
No, so I mean, I haven't really had much income for about 18 months, but I'm quite lucky. So I've got a supportive husband who sees the value of what we're doing. So, but it is hard. It is hard that, you could be better off stacking shelves in Tesco,
Yeah,
whereas,
I
and
hear
I
you.
don't mean to,
For
denigrate
about a
Tesco or
third of
anything,
the hours.
but you still, for me, I mean, being a mum, I've got 5 children, so I'm also like really busy
Wow.
at home. But it's also like if you sign up to something else, if you've got another job, you're tied to that job as well. So that's an additional stress. Like if you have to
Yeah.
certain hours, or if your child's sick or whatever, and you can't then necessarily give up on that job either. So I'd much rather be doing something that I have, let's say, like when I turn up and what I do, But it's so much more than that. Obviously, it's the
Yeah.
rewards of it. But if I went and got another job, I don't think I could do it, because I'm still tied to something else that I don't want to be tied to.
Chances are
So
you won't feel the same level of emotion for that job as you feel for this. This is
no,
it's part of our core. It's part of our soul
yeah,
now because we put so much into it. We put so much love and energy and time. And don't get me wrong, blooming dark times and difficult times and
yeah,
tiring times, frustrated times, it's all part of it. But when you see it come into fruition and you start helping people, like just as a side note, obviously PHA's launched in New Zealand. They've opened a few hubs in New Zealand. I mean, it's
cool.
profound. Those girls in New Zealand, I say girls because it mostly is, but they are rocking it. But we have flooding in New Zealand. Hello there, out
Yeah,
mainstream media, who've totally ignored this horrific flooding that's been taking place over there with, quite the death toll, and the New Zealand government who've done nothing. But we got photos over this weekend, and it's PHA people out on the ground with other volunteers out on the ground helping these people that have been involved in the flooding. And like they said to us, if it wasn't for groups like PHA, we'd have never found each other, and we'd never have been able to coordinate and
yeah,
strategize and mobilize and get over there and help these people who need it. So what we do now will
yeah,
ripple in ways we don't yet understand. And that's part of the excitement of it, is like, where does this go? Where does this go? And
yeah,
like, you guys, to me, it sounds to me like your route is actually the wise route. When you put it in a common sense model, your route is the wise route, because the thing I know about the legal system, it's cold.
mm,
There's no warmth there. It's
mm,
intimidating.
mm,
It's frightening for a lot of people, and we don't understand it because the language they use isn't a language we understand.
yeah,
What
yeah,
you're doing is so much more human. It's so much more loving approach. And I think you're going to find over, the fullness of time, the model you're creating will almost become the baseline model for other initiatives to follow and move on. And that's how we'll see some shifts take place. I think, coming
I
from
hope
that
so.
place of love, you're creating something profound.
I hope so. I mean, I don't want to blow my own trumpet. We're obviously in early days and things could fall apart. We don't know what the future holds. What I would say, and forgot to say earlier, is I call myself the doula of the legal world. So I'm not like a
Not your
midwife,
midwife, but
not a
yeah, I'm
midwife.
with you.
I'm a doula. And funnily enough, this has attracted a lot of doulas. So
Has it?
yeah, I have a
But
lot of
you're working with
doulas.
the lovely Nikita from
Yes,
When
I
Push Comes
am.
to Shove on. I mean, she's
Yeah.
amazing.
Wonderful,
Yeah, I'm
wonderful,
so
wonderful
glad.
lady. Yeah, so we connected, oh, I can't remember now, but we met each other for the first time at the Better Way conference, the World Council for Health. So I'm a little bit involved in the World Council for Health, trying to write their ethics charter, if you like, actually. So helping them. And met Nikita there, and we've developed quite a good friendship. And she is my voice of positivity. She
Yeah, oh
just helps
gosh,
me
yeah, she's
through.
a little bubble of delight, isn't
She's
she? That
wonderful.
one.
So
Yeah.
she, so yeah, but I seem to have attracted a number of doulas on my team. So I've probably got about 5 or 6 of them out of the about 10 people so far. And it's interesting, they have a real knack for coming alongside those that are struggling.
Yeah.
So the doula is not the midwife, not the doctor, not the obstetrician, not the one that's, dictating, comes alongside the mother and holds her safe. And then
Yeah,
the birth process is allowed
absolutely.
to happen. So I'm hoping that in the cases we get, just standing there, just being in the meeting, just sending a letter, is
It's a
all the
beautiful
dynamic.
analogy.
Yeah, is all the dynamic, the shift that needs to take place to reduce that coercive power in that moment. Don't know, again, it doesn't always work, and doulas will say some percentage of their cases doesn't always go right. But on the whole,
Yeah.
as long as it's not overly complex, if we can catch it early on, that's the shift then is more likely to happen. And I think we have a good chance of helping a number of people by just simply allocating somebody who can just walk through with them as much as they can. So it's a simple analogy, but it's a good one.
Yeah.
And changing the dynamics of child protection procedures and Mackenzie Friend work, and just sort of walking through difficult legal cases that have a medical, health and social care element to them. It just changes the dynamic, because otherwise these parents are left with no kind of way of having any control over the decisions that are made for the family. Sometimes we have medical cases, sometimes we have family law cases, but in each one there's a similar element of, the power is no longer yours. So how do you navigate with no power? I think we do that.
Nicky, I think you're doing an incredible job. It blows my mind about what you've achieved in such a short space. And I've no doubt that a lot of that is the incredible people backing you up and getting behind you and supporting you. And like you say, the recognition is always needs to be given, because it's just outstanding, the generosity and kindness that people have. And that's what sustains me, quite honestly.
Yeah.
Now, for those out there new to this, can you just give us, are you on social media, or you just got a website? How does it work? How do people find you?
So I've got the website, I've got Facebook, I've got Twitter, there is Instagram. We don't use it an awful lot at the moment. Just trying to think what else. But yeah, we're on all the main channels. I have a Telegram account. So yeah, I think that's everything.
You send me the links to all of those, and what we'll do, guys, is we're going to drop those below in the notes, so you can go and find whatever works for you, including the website, and get in touch. If you're out there and this is singing to you, this is resonating with you, please do get in touch with Nicky. If you guys are able to donate, it's on the details will be on the website. Please do give us as generously as you are able to, and I am in no doubt this is just the start for you, Nicky. I think this is going to be profound. I'm really glad that PHA and all of our affiliations are going to be able to support you moving forward. I know you're working closely with our lovely Lisa and you know, other members of our team, so I'm grateful for that connection. But thank you so much for your time today, Nicky. This has been wonderful, and hopefully you'll come back in a few months and give us an update as to what's going on, and we can let the world know just we going from strength to strength.
Thank you very much for your time today, and I've really enjoyed it. And yeah, if anyone wants to get in touch and help and support this project, yeah, please feel free to do so.
Brilliant. And guys out there, apparently I've got to tell you all to like and subscribe and share and do all that funky stuff, because apparently it helps the podcast. You know me, not so great at that stuff. But if you feel so, please do like, subscribe, share, and do all that wonderful stuff. And we're going to be back. The next episode is going to be quite exciting from a slightly different angle. I'm going to be interviewing one of my I'd like to call her a mentor, but I don't think I could, because she doesn't actually do mentoring, but someone who inspires me every day is the wonderful Pam Gregory. So look out for that one. She'll be joining us on the next episode. But thanks from Nicky and I, and we'll speak to you soon.